Are you and your family dealing with the challenge of ADHD? Hello, I'm Dr. Ed Gallagher, and I'm going to describe a discussion with a frustrated and discouraged father at a recent support group meeting. Scott's son Jacob, a 12-year-old 7th grader, was diagnosed with ADHD early in the school year. His treatment plan includes methylphenidate immediate release, 10 milligrams at 7:30 a.m. and 10 milligrams at 11:30. Along with counseling and behavior modification. And thankfully, Jacob also has the support of helpful teachers. Life has improved, but some situations remain confusing and disruptive. For example, math homework is a nightly disaster. Jacob doesn't want to do the work, he appears confused, and says he doesn't understand it. Scott has been working with him, but Jacob can't stay focused, and they both end up frustrated and angry. This turmoil affects the entire family and not surprisingly carries over into bedtime. Meeting with the math teacher, Scott learned that Jacob is focusing much better, he understands the math, and he finishes the classroom assignments. The homework is just more of the same, and his teacher is surprised to hear there's a problem. Scott had been hoping for a solution at school, but this seemed like another dead end, and the nightly turmoil has continued. At this point, we asked a simple question. Can we help Jacob have a better day tomorrow? We wanted to show Scott how RxSim can help him make sense of all this. After entering the first dose, RxSim illustrated Jacob's med level, or the amount of methylphenidate in his circulation during the day. It reaches a peak at about an hour and then falls over the next 12 hours or so. Now Jacob also takes a second dose, so let's add that in and look again. Okay, the second peak is much higher than before. Not only does RxSim show Scott what is happening, it also explains why. The new dose is added to the med level remaining from before. I'll say a little more about this at the end of the video, but for now let's focus on the homework problem. In the next step, we ask Scott to compare Jacob's med levels and his behaviors. His math class is in the early afternoon and Jacob is doing great. What about his homework? By late afternoon, the med level has dropped pretty low. By 7:30, it is much lower. Aha, maybe we're learning something here. Now, with this information in mind, how can RxSim help Scott actually do something about this? In other words, how can Jacob have a better day tomorrow? In the third step, we suggested some experiments Scott could do. Much to his relief, however, we did not suggest experimenting on Jacob. Instead, we showed him how to experiment with RxSim. Suppose we had a 5 milligram dose in the afternoon. Let's try a few different times to see what works best. It looks like somewhere around 4 or 5 o'clock is about right. Jacob's prescription allows some flexibility up to 30 milligrams per day, so Scott is comfortable making this small change. Even so, we advise Scott to discuss the RxSim results with Jacob's doctor at his next appointment. RxSim is educational in nature and does not constitute medical advice, and under no circumstances should Jacob receive doses that conflict with his written prescription. Finally, we suggested another experiment, a reduced dose of 5 milligrams at 11:30 a.m. With these combined doses, Jacob does not have such a high peak in the afternoon, and he has much better coverage during the day and into the evening, even though the dose is still equal to the original 20 milligrams per day. Scott will want to work closely with the teacher to be sure that lower med level is still effective during the afternoon math class. During the meeting, we saw Scott's demeanor change from discouragement to optimism, and he appeared more relaxed and less anxious. Yes, Jacob can have a better day tomorrow, and so can Scott and the rest of the family.